Hi, my name is John Wilks, and I'm really excited to be coming to Israel shortly to run a course around the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve, there's been a lot written about it over the last few years, mainly as a result of the work of Stephen Porges in America. And Stephen developed this whole model, which he called the polyvagal system, or sometimes called the social engagement system. And it's really applicable not just to us as therapists and to understand people's nervous systems and how they respond to things like treatment and interactions, but also from a personal point of view, I found it incredibly useful for myself in terms of being able to understand what's going on in my body, my nervous system, and around self-regulation. And also how one relates to others. That could be clients, but also it's very applicable to social or intimate relationships even. Really, really interesting material and very, very useful and down to earth. So in this workshop, we're going to be looking a little bit around neurobiology, nothing too complex, but I like to bring things into a simple way of understanding the vagus. And so this would be, for example, how we might go more into an active state, so what we call a sympathetic activation, sometimes called a fight or flight response, and how that might play out and why. And Stephen Porges talks a lot about these newer vagal pathways, which are myelinated pathways, which came in later in evolution. And again, that is much more to do with our social interaction. So we'll be looking at that, how we go in our daily lives between more kind of socially interactive, using our face, using our mouth, using our breath, and particularly how that's in our digestion. And looking at the interrelationship between things like the gut, our breathing, the heart, and using some very, very simple tools that we can use in everyday practice. And there's a whole variety of these, which I'll be exploring in the workshop. Some of these are to do with breath, some are to do with movement, some are more sort of contemplative practices, and some are social practices, interestingly enough. Because the newer vagal pathways are all to do with being able to be, for us to be set to social animals. And that came in through evolution because of our need to be dependent on others and to be socially interactive. And we'll also look at the older kind of freeze response, which is part of the vagus, which again you see in older kind of more primitive kind of creatures, but also playing out in our behavior. And that is when we might go more into withdrawal or freeze, when we don't want to interact and just want to be on our own and kind of more, you could say, shut down. And again, this is something we see with clients, we see it with friends, we see it in relationship. We might see it with our children. And so there are ways of working with this in a very clever way that we can encourage people to come out of those states and to be able to be a bit more fluid and modulating between the states of freeze, fight and flight, and to be more socially interactive. I'm really excited about this workshop. I love this material. It has so many applications right across the board. And it's helped me really profoundly in terms of understanding why I react in certain ways in certain situations. So I'm really excited about sharing this with you, and really looking forward to doing that with you all in Israel in May. So thank you, and hopefully see you soon. Thank you.